Welcome, this is lesson L121, input switching of LEDs. I've just opened up lesson L113, flash to LEDs, because we're going to build on this lesson. And instead of using a delay in between the LED states, we're going to put an input tool. So this is a new tool for us. And there's a couple of things we need to learn about inputs before we use the tool. First of all, every microchip has multiple pins which are controllable. So all of these little pins down here on the microchip, we can control whether they're inputs or outputs. And we can do that via the Start tool on the Inputs Outputs tab. So over here on the Inputs Outputs, we can designate which one of these, if any, are going to be inputs or outputs. And you'll notice that RB3 is an input only pin. That is, we can't make it an output. Well, for this lesson, we're going to make RC0 an input because we're using RC1 and RC2 to control the LEDs. So we'll just use the next one along for the switch. Once we've set that up, we need to make sure that over here we've got our 3-pin connector and the yellow wire is our signal wire. And if we trace that cable around, it comes back down here to the switch, and you'll see that the yellow wire over here is actually hooked up. There's a little mark there on the circuit board, so you know which way the cable is plugged in. Now that that's connected up, we can actually go ahead and delete the delays, and we'll replace that with a couple of input tools. We'll go ahead and link that one up. And what we might do is set up this tool. So we're going to test for a high. When it goes high, what that means, high and low. High is the positive voltage that we get from the battery pack. And so in this case, it's up to 6 volts. And low is when we're connected to ground. It's the low voltage, which would be 0 volts. And what we're doing is a test. If it is high on RC0, then we want it to go to true, or it will go to true out the right hand node. So we're going to test for high. And if we're testing for high, that actually means the switch is not pressed. So that's testing for high, and it's still red, which is showing us, it says this tool requires multiple outlinks to be connected. So for a false test, we can come around to the start of the test, or we can just go back in on itself like that. So we might copy and paste, Control C, Control V to get that input on this side as well. And instead of it being high, we want to make this a test low. So when it's low, we want it to change states again. And for this one, we might put false on the top and true on the bottom. So when it's low, it will go out the true connector, and we'll get rid of that link. Out of true, we'll come back to the start, and out of false will connect to itself. That looks a bit silly. Let's go and change this one as well. So we'll make false on the top, and we'll move that connector so it can come out, go back in. And we'll also make this one should be test for low. So we've got the input tool set up there. Let's program and see what happens. Okay, so it's stuck on red, and when we go to press the switch, you'll see it changes to a blue. Lift off the switch and it goes to a red. And we can do that as much as we want, as fast or slow as we want. So that's lesson 121. Let's update the text here. Lesson 121. Input switching of LEDs. And we might just extend that a little bit. So that's lesson 121, input switching of LEDs.